ownership and monarchy as external ownership, and the comparison of sovereignty to confusion and freedom to control, order to chaos, good to evil, love to fear. These are the polarity expressions of natural law that give a sense of this is basically the experience the global humanity is coming to as a whole. And all that's less than that comes up for transmutation in the process. More light and the concept of global unity and diversity and knowledge, sovereignty, freedom, and harmonious order. The more that's a challenge to all the forces of fear and ignorance and confusion and control, chaos, or evil. So I'm trying to put this in kind of a perspective here, like I say, the warm fuzzy, the safe statements before we go to the heavy stuff. But taking this step by step. So we're going in this understanding of natural law and the natural purpose of natural law, connecting with the center of the universe as the core of the self. Here's one of my favorite all-time quotes from Native American wisdom. It's from Black Elk. Black Elk Speaks, the book. He's a medicine man, and you might say he was a quantum physicist, and you'll see what I mean when I say this. Here's this quote from Black Elk. He says, "The first piece, the most important, is that which comes within the souls of people when they realize their relationship, their oneness with the universe and all its powers. And when they realize that the center of the universe dwells the Great Spirit, and that its center is really everywhere. It is within each of us." Like I say, it's like this medicine man, it really sounds quantum physicist would today. So there's different strokes for different folks, but there's the same intent for relevant truth. I mean, everyone, for their own prevailing awareness, has their own relevant truth. That is their intent, their truth for them. So everyone is at different, and this is another infographic there where that says everyone is at different stages of consciousness. And there is a certain stage you reach where your intent is only to speak your truth, not convince others of it. You begin to realize that everyone has their own path. In other words, you cannot convince a baby they should be walking when they are at the stage of crawling. To convince them of that truth is irrelevant. So, each to their own relevant truth. As far as the concept of being fully present, this is really getting into the concept of the infinite and the eternal here and now. And that is live in the moment, live in the great eternal now, moment to moment. And that's how we, with our choices, how we create momentum that's either upward mobile or downward spiral, depending on whether it's positive or negative. So a lot of this all comes down to each one's belief system. You might say everyone has their own BS as a belief system. And not everyone is in perfect alignment or in harmony with cosmic universal law or natural law. Plato said a long time ago, those who are able to see beyond the shadows and lies of their culture will never be understood, let alone believed by the masses. In other words, culture is a composite of so many different belief systems. Some BS from a leadership sense, and some BS belief systems that follow those leaders, and what we all see every day we tend to accept as normal, when sometimes the shadows, beyond the shadows, there is, the divine, you might say, the divine order, the divine harmony, the natural law, the natural order for aligning our individual and collective consciousness. Anyway, I finished up some of those infographics. One of the last ones there is about, giving hope to those. Sometimes I refer to as the meek and humble, or sometimes as the crazy ones. And so this one's called "Here's to the Crazy Ones," the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the roundheads in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. The only thing you can't do is ignore them because they change things. They push the human race forward, and while some may see them as crazy ones, we see genius, because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who usually do. And that's by Jack Kerouac. Of course, there's pictures of Einstein, John Leonard, Julian Assange, Martin Luther King, Gandhi, Krishnamurti, and all kinds of other, you might say, luminary leaders, Carl Sagan, etc. There's pictures surrounding this quote. And again, so often you take a John Lennon or a Gandhi or a Krishnamurti, or Martin Luther King or Julian Assange, and there's many people realize, like we're talking about today with Bradley Manning and Edward Snowden. Some people say they're the crazy ones. Some people say they're criminal. Other people call them heroes. And what they're saying here is we see their genius, the genius of moving civilization forward. This kind of gets into the heavier issues with Edward Snowden and recent revelations with Snowden and the real story of Bradley Manning and what he's being punished for, exposing those videos of helicopter killings, massacres of journalists and civilians, and leaking those videos from the Iraqi war into the mainstream media that show that basically we're horrendously abusing power in the world and trying to bring conscience to the equation. So that's my intent. That's kind of the preliminary. I'm going to get kind of into the meat of the show now. This is a call-in show. If someone really wants to discuss the thread here, I'm going to give a little bit of an orientation now to this next part. It's a recent. This was a recent publication that was on my e-list. Those who signed up on my Cosmic Love homepage, I send these out usually at least once, twice, sometimes thrice a week. These articles. This one's one of the series called Montana Musings, a big guy perspective on common sense solutions for global problems. And if you can visualize this, it begins with this picture overview of the Paradise Valley that I live in here in Montana. Snow-capped mountains and a river coursing through the middle of the valley, and this is up on the bluff where I have my office. And I'm referencing here that Paradise Valley is famous for its summer rainbows. Evening clouds roll in from the west, and the valley runs north to south, so the setting sun in the west shines under rain clouds against the mountains, creating spectacular rainbows representing the full spectrum of light colors. And the article is called The Red, the White, the Blue, the Purple, and the Gold. And the red, white, and blue is a reference not just to color, the light in the white in the rainbow, and the red and the blue, or the red, white, and blue in the American flag. It's also referencing, the red, white, and blue of America. The spirit of America, the flag of America, the standard of America that is worshipped with nationalism by so many people. I'm not saying that that's bad. I'm just saying that some people have more of a belief system in nation states than they do in the family of man as a whole, the unity consciousness that transcends the divisions of nation states, which are going through a whole process of largely losing their boundaries because of the instant everywhere and interactive internet, where there are no boundaries. We are in a global village, the family of man in a global village now, and in practice, with global communications. But in principle, we are, and in practice largely. But there's also the practice, the habit, the momentums of being divided, the sense of being divided, and resource wars, and going on worldwide, and all kinds of divide and conquer tactics by different nations on their own people and the people of the world. So this is, the big test we're looking at. The and we're looking at a metaphor here, exquisite metaphor, ideally, to frame the concept of this red, white, and blue. Obviously, it has a patriotic ring to it, the flag, the red, white, and blue. Referring to the rainbow, I'm referring to natural law, natural light. There's a full spectrum of colors. The white light, hits the prism and refracts into all the colors of the rainbow. Whether you're talking about the prism of rain, up against the mountains, or the just a prism where you shine a beam of light into it, like crystals in the window. That full spectrum language of light, the laws of light, the natural laws, is a metaphor for the language of consciousness. I mean, you've got full spectrum autism, or some of those bands of the spectrum, you might say, of consciousness are not there as much as others. And you've got full spectrum conscience, where you're firing on all burners, and the synergy is greater than the sum of the parts, and there's somewhat of a white light of enlightenment going on, in your holodeck between your ears. So this is a metaphor, the language of light that I'm playing with here, and this is kind of some of the background on the story as you go through it. The red and the purple, what I said, this is the red, the white, the blue, the purple, and the gold. And the purple and the gold are referring to international sovereignty. Purple is the international, you might say the international standard. Just like the red, white, and blue for America, the purple and the gold is the colors in the flag, you might say, the standard, the concept of the frequencies of purple and gold, sovereignty and wisdom, in the flag standard for the United Sovereigns of Earth. The concept of Earth is a global village, Earth is a community of one, and what are the colors we're going to fly? Well, purple, violet are those colors, the colors of sovereignty and the Holy Spirit, and gold is the color of wisdom, and the purple and the gold represent, this new unity in our diversity. So I'm going through this metaphorically. I go into it in depth with whole sections. The red sections, the red hot stuff, the white section, the white hot stuff, the blue section. I reference that in terms of philosophic resolve, the true blue philosophic resolve, and the royal purple path of universal sovereignty for all of us, United Sovereigns of Earth. That's the last section. I don't know how I'll have time to go through all of this, but and there is other things I'd like to finish up with. You can go through this on your own. I've got the link there. There's videos there, several different embedded videos, especially when you go to these different links. There's more embedded videos. There's quite a story I'm trying to tell here. It's metaphoric. It's, life is metaphor. You appreciate something as it compares to something else. In time also. Sometimes we appreciate the present because of a past that was worse, so to speak. Anyway, for your own enjoyment, I provided more links, that give more in-depth explanation of concepts that deal with what's going on in the larger scheme of things. So this article was published on August 6th. There was a new moon then. And it was the beginning of a cycle, which is really going on globally now in earnest. And I'm talking about serious interest worldwide in what's going on with the, just might say, a revolution in higher consciousness, global evolution revolution. I could go right to the white hot core issues, and that's one of the sections. The white hot core issues. Which the red, white, and blue. There's the red hot issues, and there's the white hot core issues, and there are many issues that emanate from the one, you might say,